Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to
Umineko.
Higurashi.
Banquet of the Golden Witch, Umineko edition.
This
Let's
is
go.
the same text that opened the episode I last edited. This is the same text, I think, that opened part 2 of this arc.
I don't know what's Tater.
Are we about to get an alternate ending to that scene now that Akasaka's had his rising revengeance?
Maybe.
Ruminations.
You're right. Oh my god, what a great scene. What a great scene. Akasaka, best boy.
Because this is just before they like talk about like, oh, you know, they don't know how long it's
Nationalism,
gonna
is that
take
that
before
one?
the beer gets out, so
Yeah.
they end up drinking warm beer anyway. And we were talking about how, like, you know, I thought that warm beer was a thing in Japan, but maybe it was just sake. And then we go outside, and then they're like, "Woo, nationalism!" And we're like, "Wow, nationalism sure does suck." And then we spend an hour talking about nationalism, and then Takano gets her budget, and then.
And then what?
And then I did an interview with Paul Daly on Death of the Reader about war propaganda.
You should go listen to that one.
catch-
Akechi Kogoro, episode 3.
Yes.
Midway through, get on that. And the rest of the episode's very good too. I edited that one. I edited that one. It was good.
The thing is, though, is I opened this up, we like loaded it up, and we're like, all right, you ready? And I look back at the screen, and I'm like, wait, shit, is this the wrong save?
Have we just begun again? Maybe it is the wrong save.
Maybe
I
it
guess
is the wrong save.
there's
Maybe we're gonna
only-
have to redo this introduction and put this in a bonus episode, but I hope not.
And then we'll look like fools. It'll be
Let's
great.
just get started before we get too
Alright.
stuck into this introduction and
Look,
find
you're
out we
the
are
one
gonna have
getting
to do
stuck
that.
into it. I'm ready to go. My mind is so
Says the
mellow
guy who
right
just
now.
had his like head down on the
Dude,
table.
I would love some sleep right now, but we're recording. I'm a professional. I show up to the set on time. I ask for minimum pay. I haven't even
Is
eaten
that
any of your-
professionalism? Is
Yes.
asking for minimum pay
I
professionalism?
don't know. I haven't eaten any of your food today. I usually try to steal something from your kitchen before we.
That's
before we
true.
do it.
It's true. I was
But
in so
I
much
had
of a
a
rush.
I had a chocolate bar. So there you go. I'm all good.
Okay, this is the banquet section. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
One more speech and then we'll move. Yeah, this. I swear this is the
go.
same line.
This is the back end. We're ready.
I'm really
We
confused.
can't hear anything from inside, so please give us a cue when the speech is finishing up. It's the beer thing.
It is
10
10 bottles
bottles.
per table. Make sure you serve your table smoothly.
Man, that beer's gonna get warm.
I'm still not entirely convinced we haven't just loaded the wrong save here. I'm kind of stressed.
We'll find out. Young waiters with bow ties got bottles of beer on the wall ready for a toast. Did I make that
That
joke
was
last
the
time?
joke you made. It
Yay.
was. And then you missed one. The first time they mentioned the wall, you didn't bring up bottles of beer, and I ridiculed you for
I
it.
remember that. What a good time. That was like months ago we recorded that. It's like nostalgic at this point.
It was July. It's now late September.
Is that really when we recorded that?
Yeah.
What? Fuck! We're getting old. There are several dozen tables with white tablecloths on the tables in the banquet room. Approximately 8 people are sitting at each table, so there are at least a few hundred tables here. The banquet room is teeming with tables. There are many plates with different kinds of food on each table. A sushi platter, a sashimi platter, a fruit platter. This is the same.
I'm losing my mind.
Also along the wall there are cooks ready to serve fresh sashimi. Is there a way we can make sure this is the right chapter? I'm
No, I
concerned.
think we're diverging now, but I'm still
Okay.
my brain's wired.
I'm concerned.
I'm scared.
Ryukishi, I'm ready for the scathing political commentary. All the guests appear to be well-mannered gentlemen. Obviously, they are notable people from different fields, from all walks of life. Here they are in a circle, holding
God.
hands. It's Ubisoft. The huge and beautiful chandelier. Have you not played a Ubisoft game? They have that at the start of all of their titles. They have, most notably, Assassin's Creed when you boot it up, because it's a game about like historical, political stuff.
Right.
They have a little image that's like, this game was made from people from all genders, nations, and creeds, and all sorts
Oh.
of stuff.
Maybe I have seen that.
You definitely have.
I just don't particularly enjoy the Assassin's Creed series.
Oh my god, are we gonna get in on this? Are we gonna have an Assassin's Creed discussion right now? Try doing a Hidden Blade run only in Assassin's Creed 1 and tell me you don't enjoy that game.
I did.
I did that
It
once.
sucked.
Yeah,
It was
wasn't that
awful.
bad. You didn't enjoy trying to like time your counters
It
perfectly
was
every
so
time.
mind-numbingly easy.
I know
It
what you're
was
talking
like
about.
a shitty dance game.
Well, I mean, the problem is like all Assassin's Creed games are too easy. Like even like in Assassin's Creed 1, you only have like 3 weapons. You have
But
your
like,
short blade,
easy,
your long blade, and
easy
your
is
hidden blades.
fine if it's fun, but it's like hit
throwing
one
daggers,
button
sorry.
to do all the combat.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway,
And then as you get into the more Assassin's Creed games, you just get more and more ways to kill people, and
and
eventually,
it's all the same button.
yes. And then in Assassin's Creed 4, you get a big cannon. You get a big shit with cannons on it, so you can kill like 12 people at
Hot
once.
take, I preferred the Assassin's Creed movie to the games.
No, that's
all
dumb.
of them.
No, get out of here.
All of them.
No,
And it was not a great movie.
No, that's garbage. I haven't even seen it, and I know you're wrong. Tell him he's wrong. Flex. The huge and beautiful chandelier table above them clearly tells that this hotel holds a status good enough for those famous people. I've fucking not missed the way that Ryushi writes prose. Here we go. And
It's only been like a week.
I know, it's been too long. An elderly gentleman is giving a long speech. Also, we missed last week. Is giving a long speech on the stage before making a toast.
There are no gaps in my Ryukishi prose.
Usually people don't like such long speeches, especially if it's before a toast, but the guests are actually excited with this speech. Maybe the word excited isn't suitable. Maybe it should be described as an upsurge in a strange way in emotions. Their emotions were becoming more agitated, perhaps. Anyway, Japan accepted the demand for unconditional surrender, and on the day they did, the Pacific War ended. In other words, even if they had to take care of other business, the war ended that day according to international law. And from that day on, there was peace.
The Death of the Reader interview published Keshi Kogoro Part 3.
It's a good one. Therefore, if any troops invaded Japanese land during that peace, they would be an encroachment against Japan. No matter what the Soviet Union says, I'm not a crook. This northern territories are Japanese land, and it should be clear to everyone that they invaded illegally.
Here.
Oh, come on, give me your enthusiasm. I'm a tired one.
That's all my enthusiasm. I spent it all on being angry about Assassin's Creed.
Awful. That's a terrible way of spending anger. And now they want to settle by returning a mere 2 islands to us who think they're kidding. Listen, Habumai, Shikotan, Kunashir, and Itarup, that's a great name, Itarup, a Japanese territory. Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture.
Itarup is the kind of name
Itarup.
that in like a point-and-click puzzle adventure is the name you reverse to get the solution to something.
That's where you find out you need a monkey wrench.
Uh-huh.
Their total area is equal to an entire prefecture. So nice I had to say it twice. What would you think if the Soviets invaded and occupied one of our prefectures? Would you settle for just getting a half of the prefecture back? No, you wouldn't. You would have the entirety returned to you. Yet, the Soviets are brazenly sitting there claiming vested rights to the land. Oh, this is no joke. We must strongly oppose this to the bitter end. Send Tim Curry back where he came from. Return all the Northern Islands. What?
Where does Tim Curry come into this?
I'm not saying he was the premier of Soviet Union.
Oh, in
once-
Command and Conquer.
Yeah, Red Alert 3, where he goes back in
Right.
time to do to Einstein what he did to Hitler.
That's right.
And that's
we
the
have to
opening
go
of
to
the
the
game.
only place that hasn't been affected by capitalism.
Space! I love the way he pauses and like hypes himself up. You can see him like taking air and like jazzing himself.
And trying so hard not to
good.
laugh.
The pause sells that entire scene. And then someone animated it. It's so good. Anyway, don't play that game, but do look up Tim Curry Red Alert 3. It's great. Anyway, our nation must demonstrate unwavering resolve on that point.
Thunderous applause filled the
Oh, you
banquet
got it.
room.
Okay. Go for
All the gentlemen agreed and expressed that they felt that way by cheering him on.
it. Also, it's corrupted.
In all that hubbub.
Anyway,
There were two people standing by the wall.
The
Come on.
bottles of beer on the wall.
The bottles of beer, fair
Got
cop, fair
'em.
cop.
Take one down.
Who didn't seem to fit in with the rest.
Who are these nerds?
They were wearing sharp-looking suits while a little too old to be called young men. Certainly young men compared to all the elderly gentlemen in the banquet room. Why do politicians always tend to lean right or nationalist and be so partisan?
Oh,
Oh, that's
you messed
points.
it up.
That's
Already
points.
messed it up. He didn't move on the screen, so.
But he did slide up on screen. That's an animation. I'm taking a point.
Okay, let the record say it. I'm against this one.
You wanna go further into this? You wanna unpack your
Because he didn't move. He showed up on the screen, but they said there were two
You would
characters.
have done the same in my shoes.
No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have. There's no way. I wouldn't have been called out.
Well, anyway, pick a voice while I do the rest of
Okay,
Sokka's
I'll
lines.
pick a voice.
That's simple. What politicians want most are votes. And votes are cast by their constituents, but not everyone over 20 actually votes. Voter turnout is highest amongst those who are retired and have free time, so the elderly interested in politics monopolize the votes.
And that means the key to their election is whether or not they can secure the elderly vote.
And the war only happened 40 years ago. In other words, the generation that's interested in voting is the generation from before the war.
My mother talks about air raids often. She used to live near Swedobashi, and she lost all of her family in an air raid. She had to walk across the burnt fields all alone.
You know, I had a long discussion with a friend where we sat down and went over
this
the
fucking
list
music.
of
Yeah.
voting systems in every single country to try and like figure out what would be the best voting system.
Yeah?
It was like, I think we ended up with like compulsory ranked choice voting for the lower house, and then what was the I forget the term for the top, but basically the upper house is appointed by another ranked choice by the leader who is appointed through another ranked choice vote.
Okay. Like two independent rooms.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
there's the lower house, the people that choose the upper house.
point being,
Separate.
voting is compulsory, and all the votes like run down rather than
Yeah.
just being first past the post. And
Sure.
I can't remember what the country was that we decided on, but there was some real, just small, obscure,
That
like
had it down.
African country that had like almost that voting system, and we're like, what? Why? Why is it this one?
It's always the smaller country. That's something that I've tended to notice. Whenever someone's like, man, this country really has it down, it's always like Sweden, or, you know, like it's smaller
Oh yeah, Sweden,
country.
my
You know,
favorite small,
you know,
obscure
not Sweden.
African
Sweden,
country.
you know, Sweden's not a good example, but like, whenever somebody's like, man, we should go live here, it's like somewhere, you know, somewhere relatively small.
Point being, voter reform.
Yeah, voter reform.
Voter reform.
Preferential voting, ranked voting, even, is like the best shit.
It's interesting, like,
How do giant global powers not have ranked voting? So you know, this shitty two-party system.
it's pretty weird. It's pretty
It's
weird.
very weird.
Like, why would you ever just be mathematically less fair? Like, what is the point?
Corruption, I guess. Spoilers!
Whoa,
Spoilers for
Ben,
the real
Ben,
life.
it's a logistics issue. Don't you know how much extra paper it would take?
It's true. It's true. It's a global issue. It's global climate change. So we gotta shut down the post office.
All right, that's enough politics
makes
for this
sense.
episode. Any further politics not from Ryukishi is worth points.
Okay. Give him 5 minutes. Actually, give him about 20 seconds. He's gonna bring up something completely different. It's gonna be great.
Okay, good.
This is you?
That's right. Our parents went through the war, and they shed their blood, sweat, and tears, believing it was for the good of the nation. We lost the war, but they believe the war still brought about change that serves as a foundation for the peace we have today.
I hear that a lot. That if Japan hadn't fought in the war, the Asian countries would still be Western colonies. There was no way we could have won, but we need to fight in that war or something like that.
In that case, no matter how much they preach pacifism, politicians can't ignore the pre-war generation. War is bad and we should never again fight a war, but that war was necessary. Unless they say things like that, it's like they're denying the very lives that generation lived.
I see. Politicians have to work hard to earn votes, huh?
However, it'd be one thing if they are truly proclaiming their own beliefs, but many of them are simply saying that to get elected. As long as there are politicians trying to win over what remains of the pre-war generation, this country's post-war era will never end.
There you go. Until they all die. That's how the ghost of the war will pass their will on to the next generation and keep things the same for the next millennium. They'll just keep repeating that the war was justified yet regrettable every time an election takes place. When will our country ever be freed from that cycle? When I punch you in the face!
Simple. Young people need to vote. They'll be
Yeah.
fooled by war stories. Vote for those actually pushing policies. Realistic policies, that is.
Damn, Rishi is really just going ham. I love it.
Just a little.
He's just like,
it's
here's
just
my insert. Let's go. Yeah, there are a few who talk about some pretty unrealistic things.
I'm gonna put Coke in all the bubblers.
Aha! I'd be okay with that. Akasaka-san, isn't that the F table?
There she is. Let's go.
Oh, damn. Is it time? The speech had ended, and the elderly gentlemen were giving the man on the stage a standing ovation.
Standing ovation.
Because he was just so cool. The two men walking through the crowd and approach. Oh, the two men walk through the crowd and approach an old lady in a kimono.
Old lady?
Do you want to play this character? I guess. I don't know who this is, so.
Neither do I.
Is this supposed to be a character we've met? Is this what it turns out to be?
Well, actually, no, because the one that picked Takano up in the limo was said to be young as well.
No,
That was like
no,
the whole.
I don't think it would be her.
No, who would it be?
I have no idea.
Is it Oreo?
If it is, my mind will be blown. What would she be doing here?
I don't know.
What would she be doing at this like nationalist fucking bros rubbing elbows
You
party?
do the voice, but let's assume it's not Oreo.
Okay. Dude, fuck you.
You're gonna be playing off Akasako. You want me to do the whole scene?
Characters.
You want me to do the whole scene by myself?
What? No, I'm doing the narration and the young boy. And
I'll take the narration.
This character. No, I refuse. You're never taking that away from me again.
Well, you have no right to complain, so.
I have every right to complain.
No right to complain.
All right. Oh yes, that would be me. But who are you?
I made an appointment with you on the phone yesterday. I'm Akasaka.
Bye. I'm X character. My name is. Tell me, what is my name? Oh, my husband worked so hard for this country. Even so.
Madam, I understand what you're going through.
This wasn't really anything out of the ordinary. Nobody could remember if there had been a donation or not, so a handful of politicians were questioned. As a result, some came up with a scheme to blame a sick elderly man who had already retired. With only a short time to live anyway, he was the perfect fit for them. The elderly man had already been sick in bed, and the shock of his friends betraying him had taken away his will to live. Damn. The only thing his wife could do was to simply watch him suffer. She kept crying while telling the man about her husband's achievement.
If your husband is in fact innocent, a judge will rule accordingly. Don't worry. All false accusations will be cleared.
Oh, I already know that, because he is innocent, but he won't live to see the verdict. Oh, he worked so hard for this country, and this is what he gets in return at the end? How can he rest in peace? Oh. Akasaka nodded and tried to find the right words to say to her. His colleague rummaged through a pile of paperwork behind him. The papers were filled with fine print, and it would be hard for an onlooker to tell exactly what they were. However, the way he was looking at them made it very clear that they contained something important.
Something, pause for effect, important.
Akasaka-san, this is amazing. This records exactly how the money was moved. Akasaka gave him a signal to remind him that this wasn't the place to be looking through those documents.
Madam, there isn't any more paperwork, is there?
No, that was the only thing in his safe. Please, use it to get back at those ingracious bastards. My husband did so much for them, and yet they... Oh!
Madam, you do understand that some things in these documents will implicate him, don't you?
Yes, I understand that, but he's about to die anyway. One can't be honest all the time when one is a politician. That's okay.
No. Shh.
What do you mean?
We can't lose points.
I'm not bringing up anything he hasn't already. He's literally talking about...
Just, Ben.
It's
just,
okay.
Ben, just pause for effect.
Politicians don't have to be honest all the time. Not even any of the time. I'm not referencing anyone in particular, okay? I'm just saying, if there was a politician who was never honest, it would be perfectly natural. I am his wife, after all.
And you're thin ice.
I know I am. That's why I'm treading carefully.
Thank you for your cooperation. Is this treading carefully to you?
Yes.
Jesus.
I'm very reverent today. I don't know if you've noticed.
I'll use this to expose the injustice that was done to him.
Only one thing. May I ask you just one thing, though? Could you wait until my husband passes away before making this public? What if he never dies? What if he just, recovers?
What if he is immortal?
But what then? What if he just locks himself up in his study and lives forever? Then what? Come on, guys.
Good on him.
I'd be impressed. The paperwork Akasaka received was something her husband intended to take to the grave with him. Something that shouldn't exist in this world. If it went public, her husband's name would be disgraced. Akasaka nodded.
I understand. You have my word.
Vast public funds were moving from Katsumi Gaseki. Here we go. The funds were issued to sub-branches to carry out national policies. It's a fucking sentence.
Wait a minute.
What?
This is Uncle... No, this isn't Uncle Koizumi.
I don't think so. I think this is just some random dude.
Okay.
I think this is probably going to tie into like where Takano's funding is coming from. I think that's where this is going. But various ideas over these public funds always came together, and there was never an end to those trying to poke a straw into it and suck it out like a mosquito. Excess dividends, cordial patronage, profits from organizations that benefited themselves. Many financiers approached and adhered to officials and politicians, hoping to earn those gains.
I didn't even notice.
I noticed. And the bureaucrats constantly indulged them. Politicians, that's great.
Is that actually a word? That
I
seems
don't
like
think
so
But,
deliberate.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, is it a whole extra syllable? I hope it's a real word, but I don't know.
Carry on.
And the bureaucrats constantly indulge them. That's just how Japanese corruption works, don't you know? These illegal pipes form bypass after bypass in Kasumi Gaseki, siphoning off public funds for their profit.
There is no word popping up in
I
dictionary.com.
didn't think so.
Yeah.
It's too absurd of a
I know.
word.
I'm a little disappointed,
Politicians.
but I'm not surprised.
That'd be great, though. I'd love to learn a new word. To find and destroy such pipes is, of course, in the national interest. But eliminating illegal expenditures isn't as simple as all that, don't you know? There are important people connected to those pipes. Their flesh melded into the metallic substance. And when those people are investigated, a major political scandal takes place, and you have to perform an exorcism. The reason why the government doesn't investigate such illegal expenditures is not only to protect vested interests, but also because they're conscious of the damage these scandals can cause politically. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. It reminds me of, I don't know why it's probably in my head. I remember in The Witcher 2, okay, it's a small tangent. You guys should all go play The Witcher series. It's great. There is a side quest where you're like trying to figure out who abducted like the king's children. And in the end, after many, many side quests back and forth, it turns out that what actually happened is that there are two like nobles that both tried to abduct these two children at the same time, which is like what led to one of them being killed and like both of their plans failing to some extent. And if you take this information to like the Inquisitor guy, he literally is like, we can't put both of them away. Like there is no way we can just like, you know, deal justice to both of them. So the closest you get to justice, despite the fact that both of them are like equally traitorous, is that you put one of them away and then tell the other one he's next if he fucks up again. That's like the closest you get to justice in that system. It's a very good quest. I don't know what it's called, but go play The Witcher 2. It's great. To put it more succinctly, the government can't endure the pain of pushing pus out of a wound. The closer the exposed subject is to the top, the greater the pain faced by the government, and that affects the cabinet approval rating. That's why you make an example of the lower ones. The closer the subject is to the core, the more extensive the damage to the heart. The secret investigation Akasaka was leading went as close to the heart as it got, and could cause a collapse of the administration from shock. Akasaka was tipped off that a huge amount of public funding was leaking out through an alumni organization of the 7 Imperial Universities. Damn. So he and his colleagues had been conducting a secret investigation into the matter for a long time. Very prestigious, I hear. His target was tightly knit, but he learned the wife of one of the organization's senior members bore strong resentment toward them after her husband was made their scapegoat, and he managed to contact her. And because of that, he had got his hands on extremely important information. What is this information?
That was a very interesting audio cue.
Good work! Good work, everyone! We've almost gathered enough proof. What Akasaka brought us is particularly shocking. You must have worked hard to get it. Great work.
Thank you.
Oh, very welcome. The small meeting room was filled with boxes that were in turn filled with documents. A whiteboard was filled with cramped writing too. A few of the investigators in the meeting room, which was also filled with smoke, were reading the documents intensely.
Now, before we do continue with this scene, Ben.
Yeah.
The last time we were here, everyone in the building was Uishi except Akasaka.
Are you right? Is that right?
That was what we did.
Okay, well, we know what we need to do then.
Okay, I just wanted to.
I'm glad you've reminded me, because I'd forgotten that this room even existed. Their intimidating manner clearly indicated that they were police office Uishis.
Thank
Police
you.
Uishis, there we go. They were police Uishis with a great deal of experience.
I'm glad that the same jokes are just coming out again.
Here we go. Akasaka was not one of those Oishis, but he was there. It had been a while since Mamoru Akasaka was transferred to this department. When he worked on... Did I really make that joke last time? Police Oishis.
Don't you remember last time we were here?
It's been like 2 years.
It has to be
dude.
like 2 years, but it was, you know, they had the moment where they're like, there's probably a traitor, and everyone was
that.
Oishi and
remember-
Akasaka.
I remember calling them all Oishi and be like, yes, there is traitor among us. Who could this be, fellow Oishi?
I can't believe
remember that
we've
bit.
been doing this show for so long
Too many
that we're
years.
laughing at our own jokes by remembering
Yeah,
them.
the joke that I thought, I don't know if I ever made this joke, was just calling them police Oishis instead of officers. That was the joke. I was like, did I make that?
Yeah.
But you're right. I do remember absolutely everybody being Oishi and like investigating Akasaka. That was great.
There's just,
I
I feel bad laughing at your own joke kind of thing going on right now,
Felix, you know how I talk on Death of the Reader about cycles of media where like
but oh my god, you're right.
we're a microcosm. We're a microcosm of that.
no.
We're literally recycling old jokes because now that it's been long enough and we've been through our complete cycle of jokes, those old jokes are funny again.
All the squares make a circle.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening here. Anyway, I should find an article on that. I'm sure there's a really good like cycle of comedy.
Maybe you should just do a PhD on it, Ben.
I should. I could do that. He had been a rookie when he worked on the case of the kidnapping of Minister Inukai's grandson, Jimmy?
Jerry.
Jerry! Jerry.
Can't believe you fucking forgotten Jerry.
Look, it doesn't matter. Your name doesn't matter, okay? You're a corpse anyway. You're a
I'm
zombie.
not Jerry. Jerry's my mute
you're
zombie
right.
friend.
You're right. You're the one who yells at Jerry. Jerry's all, oh boy, I'm Jerry. I'm getting
No,
settled in
he's
the
fucking
back of the
mute.
van."
I have to speak for him. Stop impersonating Jerry. That's my job.
Okay, fair enough. He had been a rookie, but by now he was an experienced investigator. This is a very serious scene.
Don't you
After a
remember
knock,
when Okanogi cut his throat?
I do.
He's got no tongue anymore.
Poor Okanogi.
Poor Jerry.
He can't even talk. After a knock on the door, an elderly man entered the room. Everyone straightened up all at once. Sir, thank you for stopping by. Thank you. You don't need to stay and relax. I have brought wonderful gift for you all today. It is not vodka, but it is close. Keno, you get to go to your son's birthday meeting after all. Clap, 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 clap. The meeting room was filled with sighs, tinged with exasperation and resignation. It certainly wasn't because any of them hated getting to go to Parents' Day. What is
Pause for
happening? We took a break and it's just like the fucking tone.
It's killing me.
What happened between the last joke and the story?
I don't know.
What was that line? Like, "Wait, I just want to go to Parents' Day.
Are they having their budget cut and they're all
don't
sad
know.
that they're getting their budget stripped from
I
them?
mean, they might be thrown off the case. I think that's what's about to happen here.
God, this story really
that
is
too
just
close?
way too close to home.
I knew it. I thought it was about time. Shit! Stuck a place. Akasaka's colleague complained in perfectly normal Japanese. They had been so close to getting to the root of this issue. They had such strong evidence, and that's exactly why they were being shut down. Akasaka and his pa wasn't too disturbed. This had happened several times in his past lives, and considering how hot the documents he obtained were, it was easy enough to predict. The case was suddenly transferred to another department. That meant their investigation ended here. The new department was supposed to continue the investigation to expose injustices, but that's never happened once before. It was just an excuse. The investigation had been terminated because of pressure from above. Damn it. What about everything we've learned for so far?
It was just to see how much it'd hurt to push out the pus. They realized it'd be too painful, so they decided not to treat the wound.
Yeah. In that sense, their hard work wasn't wasted. Because of it, the investigation was terminated. Akasaka understood that, but his colleague wasn't yet mature enough to understand. Because Akasaka is the all-knowing god of this world.
That's right.
Of course, Akasaka's sense of justice was displeased by this.
Akasaka is Oyashiro-sama.
He is justice. He is Oshiro-sama. He felt frustrated with his superiors. That's definitely a theory. He had hesitated to expose the truth, but he was mature enough to know not to say that out loud. We'll organize what we have and hand it over to the other end later. Anyway, since you haven't had a day off for a long ass time, you don't have to wait until 5 p.m. to leave today. Please go home and get some rest. Akasaka, I know that you love to rest. You definitely won't stay up all night working on this. We'll talk about what's left to do tomorrow. Also, please do not forget to use up your vacation time. Please make sure that you take a big vacation and give a treat to your lovely spouses who are
Pause for
alive.
effect.
Chief, please come with me. It will be all. Yes, sir. Wait, hold on. Yes, sir. There we go. Though his long secret investigation left a bad taste in his mouth, with its resolution, you think he's gonna smell out the documents? Surely.
Probably.
He managed to earn a holiday until the next incident arrived.
Either that or he's getting a holiday and going to Hinamizawa.
Hey, he's going to the hot springs.
I guess we'll do as he says. Everyone go home and get some rest.
If you go home that early, you might find out your wife is having an affair, you know. Thomas, you don't know anything. Akasaka-san and his wife are madly in love. Lots of kisses. He calls her every night from a public phone in a different building. I envy you, Akasaka. My wife is pretty cold. Ah. Akasaka smiled bitterly as he gathered the documents in his hands. One of the pages fell to the floor. It was a page from a huge pile of papers documenting illegal expenditures. They exposed the illegal expenditures aforementioned both in the previous screen and the previous scene of the Google project, the research team for the next generation of hardware in the Defense Agency. It was entirely possible this project was created in the first place for the purpose of funneling these illegal expenditures. When he saw the paper, one thing caught Akasaka's eye. He picked, oh my god, it's fate time. He
Obviously.
picked it up.
What did you think was going to happen when he dropped the paper? There was only one thing that could have
I knew
happened.
it was going to happen, but I'm fucking ready for it.
I'm so ready.
I could hear the music going. Looked at it and tried to remember. It was a list of people who illegally received public funds. It was also a list of retirees who were still very much in love with money. There should have been no connection between these people and Akasaka. However, there was one thing that caught his attention.
The Irie Clinic.
As soon as he said it, all sorts of memories resurfaced from all the timelines.
That's right.
Or is he just going to remember the one? Yes, the Irie Clinic. When he was working on the case of Minister Inokai's grandson's abduction, TM, he got into a scuffle. I got you. I finally got you. He got into a scuffle with the suspects and became injured. He was taken to the local clinic. As he recalled, the name of that clinic was the Irie Clinic. He started to remember one thing after another. His very first experience with wading into the muck. It was burnt into his mind like a fresh memory, and he could vividly recall everything that happened. His daughter was about to be born, and he really didn't want to go to Hinamizawa. He met Oishi, who taught him a lot of important things, like how to be the best character in the story. He also met a girl in that village. Her name was, yes, Rika Furuta.
I really was kind of hoping he'd just get the name wrong.
Richard Frederick Dunn. That's it. She had a strange name for a girl, but I think that was like her whole thing. That was it. How long had it been? How old was she now? 1,000. As he remembered her lovely smile, he also remembered the ominous prediction that she made. She had predicted that if he didn't go back to Tokyo, something terrible would happen. At the time, he took it as nonsense, but he felt something odd about it, as if it was a divine omen. Then he had remembered Yukie, who was about to give birth. He became concerned that something terrible would happen to her, but he couldn't just leave and go back to Tokyo. That's why he called her right away. He told her something would happen. He told her to be very careful on those stupid stairs until he returned. Yukie had laughed and told him he was being paranoid, but that phone call indeed had saved her from a calamity. She would have tripped on those dumb stairs. Akasaka had found out about that when he visited her after returning to Tokyo. A few days after his phone call, a janitor was seriously injured, thank God, when he stepped on a loose tile on the stairs on his way to the rooftop. He also heard afterwards that Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof for a walk every day, but because of his phone call, she had stopped doing it. Shout out to Chaos Theory. If he hadn't called her, she would have been the one to step on the loose tile. In other words, Rika Furu's prediction had been correct. There was no proof, but Akasaka still believed that he was able to save Yukie only because of Rika Furu's prediction. He'd intended to call and thank her for saving Yukie, but the busy days that followed put it out of his mind. Rika-chan. We'll say that like breathly.
Sure. Rika-chan.
There we go.
There you go.
He wondered if she was still doing well, if she was still smiling in that dumb field.
She's probably dead at this point.
Nah, she'll be fine. She's got a Wishi looking after her, so what could go wrong? Sniper shot. Akasaka remembered the sad prediction she made on that night under the moon while still wearing that smile. That dumbass smile. That's right, she said something. She predicted someone would be killed on the night of the festival every year, and that on the 5th year in, she'd be the one to be killed. That's right, he thought. She did say that. The 5th year. That's this year.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
We
that's
still got
today.
time.
And the prom's tomorrow. The festival is, that's right, it's in June. If you remembered correctly, it happened on the last Sunday of the month. Akasaka looked down at the calendar. It was June 1983, the fated month of the fated year. Although there was still some time, the death she predicted for herself was coming up. The girl who predicted Yukie's accident also prophesied a mysterious incident would occur annually for the next 5 years.
I'd arrest her for that coming through.
She's like, I know, because I'm killing them. If they'd actually been happening, then it would happen again this year. Akasaka wondered if Oishi was still at the Okonomiya PD.
Always will be.
Always will be. If the annual incident she predicted actually was taking place, he would know. In other words, he could confirm or deny if Rika Furui was going to be killed or not with a phone call to Oishi.
This is purely logical, deductive reasoning. No induction going on here.
None. This makes sense. Nothing but facts. Facts and truths and fate and certainty. Lots of certainty. The girl who predicted her own death had muttered that she didn't want to die. Muttered? No, it was clearly a plea for help. A young girl who was trapped in the fathomless bizarre traditions of a village she couldn't escape had sought help from him, an outsider.
An outsider.
Yeah, the outsider. She paid his reward in advance in the form of foreseeing Yuki's accident. Such a weird way of like interpreting it. Like, yes, it was a contract in a sense. He had to get to her. He had to go save her. It's very like Japanese thing. They're like, this is my debt to this young girl.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it. It's
it
a
too.
weird way of doing it, but it's satisfying
Yeah.
so far.
The I know I'm gonna say this a lot probably, but the anime really didn't expand on Akasaka at all. Like we don't get to see him at least from what I can remember in the anime until he's like in Hinamizawa, right? Yeah. A flood of emotions filled him up. He felt as though he had finally remembered something he was never supposed to forget. That's right. He had to go to Hinamizawa. He had to save the girl who asked him for the help. What's the twist? Oh, I guess this is responding, is it? Hello, Okonomiya PD!
Hello, is Kurado Ishii still working in your investigation department? If
Maybe.
he is, may I talk with him, please?
Excuse me, may I ask who's calling here?
Could you tell him it's Akasaka from the police headquarters?
I wish he was a very lively person, but he had been old even back then. Maybe he had already transferred somewhere else, or maybe he just died. But if he was still there, he'd be happy to hear from his old buddy Akasaka. He sure had a unique laugh. That's an understatement. Oishi-san, there's a phone call for you. Someone from the police headquarters over in Tokyo. Tokyo? Who could that be? Hello, this is Oishi. Oh my, and how have you been? And scene.
That was great.
And scene. Beautiful. Oishi, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was fun.
It's interesting, like, not to spoil what actually happened in Umineko, but I felt when we were getting to this part of Umineko, I was
ending,
kind of like,
yeah.
I was getting worn out by what was happening, whereas I'm like, despite it being a bit exhausting getting through all of the fragments earlier, this is energizing. This is just fun.
I feel like you can, because there is so little like narrative, I guess, to the first part of the story, you could segment it.
Yeah.
Right? Even though this is all Arc 8, I feel like this is a new beginning. Like, this is the real Arc 8.
Yeah.
What we had just then was more like Arc 4, right? Like, the lead up between 7 and 8. So, now that we're actually getting into the meat and potatoes, I feel good about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a brand new arc. We're getting our reintroductions of our characters. We're getting all our, like, dumb quips. Akasaka and Oishi hitting it off. It's very nostalgic.
Yeah, it's like it's doing a lot of payoff without knocking you over the head with it.
Yes.
I think that like it's also been, admittedly, never would have seen the way that Akasaka came into this.
Oh god,
the way that it happened. But
no.
since he's come into it, everything's kind of been like a bit by the numbers.
Yeah.
But in a way that you're like, yes, that's the number I would have played.
Well, this is kind of the thing, isn't it? Ryuji does sort of hit you over the head with this, with the Yukie thing, how like, because of the reason that I called her, therefore she did not die, and therefore the janitor died, and therefore I am available.
The janitor was severely injured, not dead.
Whatever, who cares? He died of complications during surgery. But anyway, my point is, like, he's beating us over the head with the like causality, aspect of Arc 8. Showing, like, really highlighting, and I mean, all of Arc 8 has been this, like, really hammering home, like, this is why the events in the previous arcs happened, and this is how, via this very specific chain of events, this is how we get out of our fate, which I love.
Yeah.
I
also think the nice thing about the scene with Yukie there is that in other timelines we've had him go back and not.
Yeah, he just pisses off to go to the hot springs.
Well, no, but like he in one of the things he allegedly just actually went back to Tokyo.
Oh, right.
I recall. And it's kind of nice that having set up the way that fate works in this universe in the last arc, that we're getting a really just tidy payoff here, where it's like Akasaka still did something different. He didn't go all the way back. You know, maybe Rika isn't like always the be all and end all and what one needs to do to change fate.
I guess, yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. The whole point that Ryuji is making is that, like, the chances of all of these very specific things lining up is so, like, minuscule.
Yeah.
To have the exact Akasaka being in the right place at the right time, being on the board, so to speak, of the game here, of this horrible murderous game.
Yeah.
And we're finally seeing that, right? This is what a perfect run through
for sure
feels like. Sorry, my head's in another place because I'm gonna let you know, I watched a video by Shifrilus Productions about Hades Town, which I haven't seen, but I feel like I need to.
It's a good show.
And the thing that he told, it's about Orpheus and Eurydice, which is a great story on its own. But the thing that Shifrilus really like hammered on, besides the fact that the music is fantastic.
Agreed.
He's a great YouTuber, by the way. Go watch him. Shifrilus talked about how the ending to Hades Town is that it all is leading up to a positive ending. But then, of course, because it's the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, he looks back, Eurydice vanishes, he loses the girl, everything fails. But then the actors turn to the front of the stage and they're like, I don't know if it's a musical number, if it's a monologue or like a cast like chorus thing, but they basically say to the audience, like, we perform this act 8 times a week in the hope that one day we'll perform the play and the ending will be different. So it is a metatextual discussion about the nature of plays and like why actors will perform the same thing over and over again because they find meaning in the act of recreating those events.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a very similar idea going on here, obviously a different context, specifically about the theater and the idea of like a live person recreating the act over and over again. But I do find it very interesting that there's such different fucking stories, right? Like one's from ancient Greece and then modernized, and the other is Japan shenanigans, and yet they have very similar themes to them. But yeah, anyway, go watch Hades Town. Theater's great.
even, maybe go see it in an actual theater once things
maybe
have stopped being
one day.
apocalyptical.
One
Who
day.
knows? Maybe it will be by the time this video comes out. I doubt it.
Nah, I doubt it. Give it another year. Give it another year, then see it with your family, or see it without your family because
Anyhow.
they don't want to watch it anyway.
This is a bit of a shorter one for this arc, but I think
right.
this is a good place to take a pause. So we will
is.
see you next time.
Next time.